Well, welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is Think Again Christian Fact Checking, and today's lesson is on our slide behind me. And the slide reads this: Biden admits there's nothing he can do to change the COVID trajectory. Now, you'll notice in the other corner a statement by Joe Biden made just a couple months earlier saying this: We're 8 months into this pandemic, and Donald Trump still doesn't have a plan to get this virus under control. I do. Well, that's the big question. Right now, we are in the middle of a horrible pandemic. And during the election, we were told that one, Donald Trump didn't have a plan, and two, Joe Biden did. And so one of the things that we want to do in our Think Again Christian fact checking is we want to develop a critical thinking mentality. We want to develop a critical thinking process in order to fact check. So sometimes we're using a fact checking process that, well, we don't really have all the facts. And so when a politician is telling us, especially during a campaign, that they can do something, well, we're going to have to really put our thinking caps on and have a systematic process that we use of fact checking. And so a lot of times the fact check is really still, even when we have some facts, more of a version of your interpretation of the facts. So that becomes a little tricky too. Well, look, campaign promises have always made, promises that we understand that maybe they can or maybe they can't keep. But what was unique about this campaign was it was during a time when people were very scared of a virus that has, by the numbers, killed 400,000 people. 400,000 people have died. And so ridiculing the current president and how the current president is going about fighting off a virus that the president or the state or the country can't control. Well, by saying that the current president doesn't have a plan to fix this deadly disease, but I do. Well, if you don't, that really puts the country into great danger, doesn't it? That's a dangerous thing. That's a very dangerous thing. And so first we see that Biden accuses Trump of not having a plan. And then we very quickly see that, well, but Donald Trump provided a virus. Or not a virus, he provided a vaccine. The whole world is fighting COVID. And Donald Trump's number one goal, his plan was to help our pharmaceutical companies find a vaccination. That the vaccination is the absolute best thing that we can do to fight this invisible disease. That's what Trump did. That's what he did. That's a pretty impressive accomplishment. That's a pretty impressive plan, I would say. But what comes next is very interesting. And what came next was this. Well, first, this confession that in January 25th, this is just 2 months after saying, Trump doesn't have a plan, I do. Biden saying there's nothing we can do to control or change the trajectory of the virus. Time out. You just said you had a plan. You just told me, you just told my family, my friends, the country, that you have a plan, sir. What's the plan? What is the plan? I know the first guy's plan. The first guy's plan was to create a vaccination that usually takes 10 years, and he did it in less than a year. That's a pretty good plan. I like that plan. I like that team that was able to complete that goal of that plan. I would probably like to see what else that team could do. Okay, so you say you can do better. Now here's the new team, and the new team 2 months in says they can't change the trajectory. Well, this is what Biden said he could do. Biden said he promised to assemble a coronavirus task force. He promised, number 2, to push for legislation for more money. Number 3, his plan is to release a vaccine distribution plan. Well, that's ironic. He's going to ride the coattails of the previous guy. Previous guy, you invent the vaccine, and I'll come up with a plan to get it out. Number 4 was his plan is to listen to the science. Listen to Dr. Fauci. Listen to the World Health Organization. But here's the irony. The irony is Donald Trump had already done that. And so in Biden's first 100 days, his plan was to essentially copy Donald Trump's plan. Now, I'm not here to pick sides of Trump or Biden. That's not my point. My point is, if you have somebody that makes a comment that the other guy doesn't have a plan, you do have a plan, and you find out that your plan is the other guy's plan, that's a problem. That's a big problem. The question then is, did you have a plan? Did you even really have a plan? Well, as we look into our fact checking, again, we want to use biblical principles when we don't have all the information. So we're using our logic and we're using our understanding of how people are. And the Bible gives us great insight into that. And so Proverbs 6:16 through 19 describes a type of personal characteristic that God hates. That God hates. Here's the characteristic trait that God hates, okay? A lying tongue that speaks lies and spreads strife. And so if we were to fact check Biden's statements, just his statements, nobody else's statements, just Biden's statements, if we were to reveal what he said, the other guy doesn't have a plan, but I do. Well, we can see by his own statements that he had no plan. And so he lied. And he lied by spreading strife, by spreading strife about somebody else. And here's the problem is that he put our lives in jeopardy. And so we have documented evidence that Biden copied Trump's plan. And he said he had a plan when he didn't have a plan. He put our lives in jeopardy. So one of the reasons that we need to develop our critical thinking skills is because we need to learn how to identify, well, who is being forthright. So maybe this time it was Joe Biden. Quite frankly, our politicians make it very difficult on us because they continuously don't give us the complete truth. I'll just say it that way, right? Especially during elections. And so we don't want to learn the truth right after we make the mistake of changing somebody who actually had a plan with somebody with no plan. So in the future, think again, Christian.